This is Killer Innovations, a show about ideas, creativity, and how you can innovate. Welcome to the Innovator's Garage, where you learn to create your next game-changing killer innovation.
Have you ever been annoyed by that voice in your head? Especially when it's trying to convince you that you can't do something. If we listen to this voice long enough, it turns into a limiting belief. Now, limiting beliefs are those which constrain us. It's self-imposed rules. And just by believing them, we do not think, do, or say things that these limiting beliefs inhibit. Now, we all have them. We all have limiting beliefs. In some cases, we had them instilled in us when we were little, like, you can't do that, you're not very good at that, don't do this, don't even try. And in some cases, we just self-impose them over time. We've convinced ourselves and we've imposed on ourselves these limits. So in today's show, we're going to talk about the 6 limiting beliefs that are killing your creativity and what you can do about it. So first off, I'm going to go through and list the 6 limiting beliefs, the 6 most common. There's a lot more out there, but I picked these 6 because I'm sure you may not have all 6, but you're going to have one or more of these as part of the struggles that we all have personally. So I'm going to list through and talk through these 6 limiting beliefs. And then at the end, I'm going to give you 4 methods, 4 tricks, 4 little steps to get around this, to discover the limiting beliefs and get around them so they no longer inhibit your ability to innovate, your ability to create. So what's the first limiting belief? The first limiting belief is one that I'm sure we've all run across growing up or even struggle with it today. And that is, I can't be myself or I'll be judged. Right? We're all worried about, not being judged, having somebody criticize us, criticize our dress, criticize the way we speak, criticize the way we think, criticize our ideas. So we put this limiting belief is that I can't be myself. I have to put this facade up. I have to act a certain way or I'll be judged. Now, we have to recognize that it's none of our jobs to please everyone in life. You can't please everyone. There will always be people out there who think negatively about something about us, our looks, our talk, our weight, our families, any number of things. The key here is to get comfortable in your own skin and be yourself. Look, we're all unique, and there'll be no one ever just like us ever that'll appear in this world. So take advantage of the fact that we are all unique and build up a little bit of that thick skin. It's hard. It really is hard. But we've got this limiting belief that I don't want to be judged. And so therefore, I'm going to live in this facade. I'm going to live in this fake world about what it is I am doing. Number 2, I can't ask for what I want in the event that it's going to get rejected. So rather than getting a no answer, I'm not even going to ask. I'm not even going to try. I'm not even going to put it forward because I don't want that no answer. Now, the fact is rejection is a part of life. If you're going to make progress, you need to ask. Nothing's given. If you sit back and wait for everything to be given to you, you are going to be sorely disappointed. You have got to reach out and you have to ask. And you have to also recognize that when you get a no answer, it's not a negative. It just means you're one step closer to getting to a yes. Those people who persevere and who keep trying and who keep asking, those are the ones that are going to succeed. Because you never know when you're going to ask for something crazy and you're going to get the answer that you really want, but you had all this fear built up. Now, I've seen this play out in spades in careers. As a leader of innovation teams, as leader of R&D organizations, as a leader of product groups, the people who advanced in my organizations, people who I promoted, were the ones who stepped up and asked. They would ask like, hey, can I take that product and run with it? Hey, can I be on this task force? I'll use my extra cycles and commit to doing X. Hey, Phil, I know you can't get anybody to take this task on. I'll take it on. The people who ask are the people who get recognized, are the people who get identified as having passion, energy, willingness to try. Asking doesn't mean, or me saying, yes, I'm going to give you this task because you asked for it, that I'm going to be expecting perfect results. Failure is always a risk, and we all have to get comfortable with failure. But if you don't ask in the false belief that that's the safe mode, then you'll find yourself 10, 15, 20, 30 years later never having moved forward. So you have to ask. You have to get out there and try. And this somewhat ties back to that first limiting belief about being judged, right? Judging is another form of putting yourself out there and you're asking without verbalizing a response. And you're worried about what that response is. Oh, if people saw what I was truly like, then they're going to think negatively of me. And then they're going to think, I'm not going to get that next job or that next project that I really want to work on. So the form of worried about being judged or worried about being rejected are in effect almost very similar. The key though on the rejection one is you have to ask. Don't talk yourself out of. Don't let that negative talk in your ear come back and prevent you from actually stepping out and trying something or asking. Again, you may get the no answer, but that's okay. No is no to the ask. No is not to you as an individual or you as a person. So get out, ask, and you'll be amazed at what you will come back with. The third limiting belief is I can't trust people because they will betray my trust. I'm going to come in. I'm going to come in with the attitude that I'm not going to trust anybody until they prove to me that they can be trusted. Then I'll trust them. And I'm amazed that people have this limiting belief, but a lot of people do. And it tends to fall from the fact that there's something happened to them in their past. They got burned. Somebody did something. Someone destroyed the trust and didn't follow through. Did something to lose the trust. And so now going forward is I'm not going to trust anybody going forward. And that's just the way it is. You can't live in today's world. You cannot live in the innovation game with this negative perception of trust. In fact, to be successful in the innovation game, you have to go and be on the other extreme side of this. You have to go out there and trust everybody until they don't earn the trust. And then when they violate that trust, it's them that violated it, not everybody else who has earned and retained your trust over time. But don't get into the situation where you trusted somebody, they burned you, and now all of a sudden you trust nobody. You're going to be successful in the innovation game, in the creativity game, in the design game. You have to put your trust out there. You have to get out there and let people run with it. And you trust everybody until they do something to violate that trust. If you don't trust, you cannot succeed. Trust is really the basis of teamwork. Do you trust somebody that you're going to give them the project, you're going to give them the work, and everything's going to be fine, and they're going to deliver? Are you going to build up trust amongst your teams such that everybody focuses on their work and not looking over the shoulder of everybody else? Just because you don't trust them, you're going to fall around and micromanage them. Trust is paramount in the innovation game, and you have to trust everybody. You have to get to that point where you're going to go in with trust to everybody on all the activities until they destroy that trust. So again, number one, Can't be myself or I'll be judged. Number 2, I can't ask for what I want because it'll get rejected and I'll get a no. And number 3, I can't trust people because they will betray my trust. So that's the first 3 of the 6 limiting beliefs that are killing your creativity. So stay right there. We'll be right back after this quick break and give you the rest of the limiting beliefs. You're listening to Killer Innovations on the BizTalk Radio Network.
This is Killer Innovations, a show about ideas, creativity, and how you can innovate. Welcome to the Innovator's Garage, where you learn to create your next game-changing killer innovation.
So what are those limiting beliefs that are killing your creativity? Number 4 is one that I particularly have struggles with, and I have a number of people reach out to me that struggle with the same one, which is I can't pursue my dreams because I might fail. So this limiting belief that I try to pursue my dream and I'm not going to even try because I might fail. Well, here's part of the struggle with this, right? This is what we refer to as perfectionist syndrome. I'm not going to start because I can't do it perfectly. And if I can't do it perfectly, then anything less than perfection is failure. And so I have this fear of failure. So therefore, why even try? Now, I know you most likely have that. Most everybody out there has this. We talk ourselves out of doing things. That's that little voice in our head that if we listen to it long enough, will convince us not to pursue our dreams because, ooh, you might fail, you might stumble, you might look stupid. You actually might lose some money. You might actually do something that impacts your career. There's lots of different ways that we can talk ourselves out of this. And we do it every day. Now, this all wraps around this concept of fear. Fear is one of those things that in our human minds, we can take a little nugget and turn it into this absolutely disaster, right? I'm going to try something. I might lose my job. If I lose my job, I don't have any income. I don't have any income. I can't pay the mortgage. Can't pay the mortgage. We're now on the street. We're homeless. And we can roll this all out into the most catastrophic kind of outcome. But what does fear really stand for? Fear, F-E-A-R. Fear stands for false evidence that appears real. False evidence. We're pulling on a little thread and we're wrapping around all kinds of signals and issues and possibilities around that one little thread, so that false evidence. And then our human mind goes in hyperdrive, our creativity kicks in, and we come up with all kinds of possible scenarios on how this could go bad. And therefore, if it could go bad, it most likely is going to go bad, so therefore I'm not going to try. So this whole concept of limiting beliefs around I'm not going to pursue my dreams because if I do, I might fail. Look, we all fail, right? I've lost jobs. In fact, it's been quite funny. I was talking with somebody recently, and I got asked this question about, how many times have I gotten fired from a job, right? It's been exactly twice. And they were just basically, it was not an issue of I couldn't do the job or the company or the boss was a schmuck or something. It was more along the lines of it just wasn't a fit. I was working in a role in a company that didn't match my passion, my interest, and my skill set, and it just wasn't a fit. But now that I look back on, quote, those failures, I thank God every day for those. Because one is I learned through that process to the point now in hiring activities, I want to make sure that every person coming onto the team is a fit. And a fit doesn't mean resume, skills, college degrees. Fit means, are they going to fit into the team? Is this an area they're passionate about? Are they a cultural fit to the organization? Do they have certain core attributes that are absolutely cornerstones for your organization? So even if you fail, so even if you try to pursue your dream and you fail, the failure is not a negative. Failure is a learning process. I would not go back and not have those failures in my life if I did it over again. I would have the exact same failures. Because those failures and the lessons I learned from those, that's what makes me the person I am today. So failure is not a negative. No matter what we think about it, there's downsides. And there was downsides at those times. One of those times, my wife had to go back to work to make some money, and I stayed home with the kids for 3 months. I was doing a little bit of consulting work. Was taking a little bit of a breather. We had 3 little kids. My wife said, hey, why don't we just do this for 6 months? You take care of the kids, and I'll go work. She's a nurse. She can get a job just pretty much anywhere, right? Here's the lesson learned on that one. I got a much better appreciation for how hard it is to be an at-home parent. And I only did it for 3 months. Originally, we were going to do it for 6 months. I lasted 3 months. And I was totally out of my element of trying to run a household and raising 3 little kids. But I wouldn't trade that for the world. So what turned out to be a failure, a negative, an economic hardship, turned into an immense positive because it opened up a series of opportunities that led to where I ended up today. And I wouldn't trade that in the world. So again, number 4, I can't pursue my dreams because I might fail. Don't let fear hold you back. It's easy to talk yourself out of doing something, but if you've got that dream, pursue it. Now don't risk the farm, but get out there and try it. Figure out a way to where you can kind of ease yourself into it. If you're really fearful, do something small in the area and then do something a little bigger in the area. Do something a little bigger in the area. In your dreams, when it's your dream, your passion, the only person holding you back is you. It's you telling yourself you can't do it. So don't give in to that. I hear all the time about people later in life saying, wow, I had this dream. I always wanted to do X, but never did it. Or I wanted to do Y, never did it. Live with no regrets. Get out there and live your dreams. Pursue it. If you've got a great product or a great idea or a great innovation, find a way to do it. Don't live with that regret later in your life. Now we're going to continue on our discussion in limiting beliefs after we return from this quick break. You're listening to Killer Innovations on the BizTalk Radio Network.
This is Killer Innovations, a show about ideas, creativity, and how you can innovate. Welcome to the Innovator's Garage, where you learn to create your next game-changing killer innovation.
Welcome back. We're talking about the limiting beliefs that are killing your creativity. So number 5, this is the 5th most popular limiting belief that I created on my own list. So this is a personal perspective. Is I don't need to be successful, so I'm not going to strive for success. I'm going to say that again. I don't need to be successful, so I'm not going to strive for success. This is what we refer to as the self-intellect trap. You rationalize it, I don't need money, so therefore I don't need to, I'm not chasing the almighty dollar, so therefore I'm rationalizing myself of not needing to be successful. This turns into both this limiting belief, but it also becomes a rationalization as to why you're not successful, right? So you may at some point in your career try to be successful. Things happen. You haven't really seen that success. And so you rationalize yourself as to being, I'm just not successful. And rather than telling yourself that, you come up with this limiting belief that says, I don't need to be successful, so I'm not going to strive for success. Reality is we're all successful. Now, we may not all measure success in the same way. I can be a successful father. I can be a successful grandfather. I can be a successful husband. I can be a successful business person. But don't rationalize out a stumbling in your past as to then becoming this limiting belief that, quote, you don't need to be successful. That's giving up. That's not believing in yourself. In however way you define success. What I have found with success is that through success, you actually can help others. Now, if you'd asked me 20 years ago that would my career have ended up where it is today, having been a founder of a major tech company with an IPO, therefore establishing some financial success, to then going to Hewlett Packard, eventually to become the CTO, having career and innovation success. Would I have planned that out? No. But what that success has allowed me to do is beyond measure. Yes, I've got a certain level of financial stability for myself and my wife. But success has allowed me to help others, whether it's through this radio show and this podcast. If you're a longtime listener, you know that this is a process that we put in place 12 years ago when we started the podcast around paying it forward. It's my way of sharing my experiences and my expertise and the things I've learned and the scars I've earned to help you with your career success or to help you with your innovation success. And then beyond that, the book deal and writing my book, Beyond the Obvious, I would have never had that opportunity. And what my wife and I do is we donate 100% of the author royalties to charity. We take nothing. We don't keep any of the money that comes in from the book sales. And in fact, all of my speaking fees, I just did a speech down in Florida, in fact, was it 2 or 3 weeks ago? And 100% of the speaker fees, we actually have the organizations write the check to the charities. I've been blessed with my success, but my success has allowed me to help others. Help other people through mentoring and coaching, helping people with autism, with the Hacking Autism nonprofit, helping people in Rwanda, helping entrepreneurs by investing, helping transform the education in Africa. So even if you can rationalize that you're not driven by money, your success, though, can have a positive impact on others. So again, this limiting belief that, quote, I don't need to be successful, so I'm not going to strive for success. Think about that. Are you rationalizing the fact that you haven't experienced what you thought success would be in your career, and therefore you're using this as a rationalization as to why you're not successful? Or you need to take another hard look at yourself, and what does it take to get you back onto a success track? And number 6, it's too late to pursue my dreams. I'm too old. I waited too long. I'm not the person to go do that. I'm over 50. Now I'm getting into that late middle age. All I want to do is sit in a rocking chair, watch the sunset. If that's you, wow. We all need a swift kick in the pants every once in a while. Look, Colonel Sanders, when he started Kentucky Fried Chicken, was 74 years old. And recently on social media, there's been this viral thread going around the world's sexiest grandpa. The guy's in his 80s, and he's a runway model. He's in his 80s. The guy looks like he's in his 30s, right? He works out. He's got muscles all over the place. He started working out when he was 50. And now he's in demand by all the clothing manufacturers to be the runway model. And he's in his 80s. But he didn't start until he was in his 50s when he started just going into the gym and working out. So this concept of it's too late to pursue your dreams is total bogus. The number of entrepreneurs out there that have been highly successful, starting their careers late in life, there's a long list. Colonel Sanders and KFC is just one. And in fact, Colonel Sanders was a total failure at everything he tried up until he got into his 50s when he started doing the chicken thing. There's no age limit on pursuing your dreams, creating that new product, launching that next innovation, solving a problem in a unique and different way. In fact, I just recently did a blog post. Or actually, it wasn't a blog post. It was a podcast last week with Barry Rudolph. Barry, 32 years at IBM. And startup companies are coming to him for his advice because of all that experience. Now, that's a little different because in Silicon Valley, there's definitely this feeling that if you're over your mid-30s getting into 40, you're of less value. Now, I haven't directly experienced that, but then again, I'm not in the job market. But I have a number of people who've been on my teams in the past who are in the job market in Silicon Valley trying to find work and can't because they get written off because of age. Barry Rudolph, last week's guest on this show, is the perfect example of what happens when you can bring that experience and you can translate it to the benefit of entrepreneurs and how to take advantage of that experience and that expertise to be successful. Why learn something all over again when somebody's learned it in the past? How to do, hardware manufacturing, how to do a reverse supply chain for a hardware product, how to scale to a global basis. What does it take to open up businesses in certain regions or certain countries? How do you manage a complex remote staff? There are a lot of people out there with a lot of experience or expertise. Take advantage of that. If you're that person, be that expertise that others can take advantage of. So this number 6, the 6 limiting beliefs that are killing your creativity, this last one, it's too late to pursue my dreams, is total bogus. It's another form of fear. It's another form of rationalizing why you shouldn't go off and try something. Don't be that naysayer. Let's get out there and try it. So next up, I'm going to share with you the 4 ways to get around your limiting beliefs. If you've got one of these 6, we're going to get around that. So stay right there. We'll be right back after this short break.
This is Killer Innovations, a show about ideas, creativity, and how you can innovate. Welcome to the Innovator's Garage, where you learn to create your next game-changing killer innovation.
I'm almost positive that one of the 6 limiting beliefs that we talked about earlier in the show, you found one or more than one that applies to you. So the question is not to sit here and leave you frustrated. So what do you do about it? Well, here are 4 ways to get around your limiting beliefs. And look, we all have them. I've got mine. I still struggle with them. There's no magic. We listen to that internal voice squeaking in our head telling us, no, don't do that. Don't try that. That could fail. You're not very good at that. You don't know how to do that. So now you got a limiting belief. How do you get around it? So step 1, start by writing down your limiting belief. Could be, I'm too old. I don't want to be judged. I don't want to be rejected. I don't want to trust anybody. Whatever it is, write it down. The process of writing it makes it real. Not in your head where that inside voice is kind of squawking at you saying, oh, no, that's not a limiting belief. That's a law. But let's face it, limiting beliefs are not fact. In fact, that's number 2. Acknowledge that these are limitations, are limiting beliefs, and not truths. We've talked ourselves into believing them, but they're not truths. So number 1, start by writing it down. Number 2, acknowledging that these limiting beliefs, they're limiting. They're not truths. Number 3, get over the fear and try a different belief. So if you were, had a limiting belief in some area, what would happen if you asked yourself if the opposite were true? So let's say the limiting belief was number 4. I can't pursue my dreams because I might fail. And what happens if you said, hey, I'm going to try it anyways? What happens if I try and it's a success? What's the opposite of failure? It's success. So I'm going to try it because it could be successful. Go after that. Get over the fear by looking at that limiting belief and trying a different belief. Try one that has a positive, that's supportive, not limiting, controlling, or restricting your abilities. And the most important step, number 4, is to act on that different belief. Do something. If your belief is, I'm too old, I can't pursue my dreams because I'm too old, push that aside and go after your dream. If you're worried about being yourself because you don't want to be judged, be yourself. Get in a small group of close friends and just be yourself. If they're your friends, they're going to accept you. Look, we're all a little weird and we're all a little different. Our friends are those that love us unconditionally. But you'll learn by just being yourself that, hey, it's not that fearful. The fear of rejection is not something that we need to overblow. So again, let me walk through this one more time. What are the 6 limiting beliefs that are holding back on your creativity, and what can you do about it? Let's go through the 6. Number 1, I can't be myself or I'll be judged. Look, we're all fearful of being judged. Look, we judge other people. How many times you walk down the street and you look at somebody and go, wow, someone should have told them not to wear that tie this morning. We're all judgmental, but it's in our heads. And let's face it, we're all not that important in the world where everybody around us is thinking about us. We're just not that important. Number 2, I can't ask for what I want because I might get rejected. Well, rejection is part of life. Asking someone out on a date and telling you no. It's not a negative. It just saves you the time of finding out that mate probably, or that person was probably not a good match for you. Number 3, I can't trust people because they will betray my trust. Can't live in the negative side of the world. Trust everybody. If you're going to win in the innovation and creativity and design game, you have to trust everybody. Number 4, I can't pursue my dreams because I might fail. Failure is always a risk, but it's the fear of failure. Fear. False evidence that appears real. It's the fear of failure. Don't let fear dominate your thinking. Number 5, I don't need to be successful, so I'm not going to strive for success. This is one of those limiting beliefs that we use as a rationalization. We haven't achieved what we thought was success, and therefore the way to do that is this limiting belief that I don't need to be successful. And number 6, it's too late to pursue my dreams. Fact is, it's never too late. Colonel Sanders, Kentucky Fried Chicken, started it when he was 74 years old. What's your excuse? And then the 4 ways to get around your limiting beliefs. Start by writing down your limiting belief. Identify it. Don't roll around in your head where that negative talk in your head rationalizes it away. Write it down on a piece of paper. Look at it. Number 2, acknowledge that these are limiting beliefs and not truths. These are things our brain has rationalized as being somehow a way of defining ourselves. And they're not. You can change that perception of yourself. Acknowledge these are limiting beliefs and not truths. Number 3, get over the fear and try a different belief. Take that belief and flip it. So if you wrote down that belief in step 1 and step 3, write out a belief that is if it was the exact opposite. I'm too old to fulfill my dreams. If your belief was you're never too old to try to live your dreams, that becomes a new belief. And then number 4, and the most important step is act on it. Do something. Get out there and try it. Prove to yourself that you can be successful. And with that, we're going to wrap up today's show. You can get all the show notes over at killerinnovations.com. If you have a question you would like answered on the show, drop me a note at phil@killerinnovations.com. That email comes directly to me. It is not filtered. So it comes to me. I collect them all up. In future shows, we answer those questions. One quick favor, hop over to iTunes, give us a review, and give us a vote. That helps us get the word out about the show to as broad a listener base as possible. And we've had a big explosion of new listeners in the last couple of months, and I greatly appreciate that. And again, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you, and bye-bye.
Autism. 1 out of every 68 children in America are impacted across every race, ethnicity, and socioeconomic group. If you aren't directly affected, someone you know is. Today's world doesn't support those on the autism spectrum. It needs hacking for us to truly welcome those who think and create differently than ourselves. We're Hacking Autism, a nonprofit charity with a mission to hack therapy, technologies, and career opportunities that improve the personal and professional lives of people on the autism spectrum. We believe that everyone can play a role in supporting those on the autism spectrum so that they can show their unique talents and abilities in this fast-paced world. You aren't powerless in this fight. Use your gifts and talents to make a positive impact. Join us in making a difference. Go to hackingautism.org to learn more.
Carpenters have their hammers and saws, chefs have their outfitted kitchens, and musicians have their instruments. A craftsman's ability to do their job is dependent on having the right tools. So where does an innovator, someone who takes an idea and makes it real, find the right tools to do their job. Outfit your innovator's garage by visiting innovation.tools. Innovation.tools is an online store created by innovators for innovators. It's where you will find tested and proven tools to help you create that next great product or service. These tools include books, audio training, video training, brainstorming how-tos, and much, much more. And for a limited time, listeners of Killer Innovations will get 25% off on your first order by using the discount code RADIO at checkout. And 100% of our profits from your purchases will be donated to charity. So go to innovation.tools and create that next great innovation.
Rwanda is a shining example of how the global community can come together and rebuild a country after a devastating genocide. But there is still more that needs to be done. In the rural villages, students are crowded into schools with no electricity, no running water, no internet access, and limited sanitation. Will these kids be ready to continue the rebuilding of Rwanda, or will they be dependent upon others? Through education and employment, boys and girls have an equally promising future that can transform their struggling communities. For $20 a month, a child can be educated and a community strengthened. By supporting Pioneer Education Africa, a 501c3 charity, you partner with others to provide education that will prepare a generation to take on the task of self-reliance. 100% of the proceeds received go directly to the education of the children. Visit pioneereducationafrica.com to find out more.